together, just dropping into the body and the body sitting here. And just noticing all the points of contact that the body is making with the surface, such as the feet on the floor. Maybe noticing sensations of coolness on the feet. And dropping into notice pressure of the buttocks against the chair. And dropping into sense posture. Is the spine straight? Maybe shoulders are relaxed and dropped, maybe getting the wiggles out. Allowing the head to rest squarely on the neck and shoulders. And then just notice how the body is breathing in this moment. And then if you'd like to, placing your hand over your heart. And then setting an intention for the next hour. May we speak with honesty. May we speak mindfully. May we practice self-compassion as well as compassion for others. And may we connect with happiness. And then taking a nice deep breath in. And on an exhale, opening your eyes.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Oh, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I just came out of one of the greatest meditation practices of my life. It doesn't take that long to get back in touch with your heart, your mind, your body. So thank you so much, Dr. Thoreau. I'm here to welcome you all to my podcast, the Radiant Calm Podcast. My name is Linelli Spasalo. And I teach mindfulness and meditation, and I'll be interviewing my friends who teach well-being, resilience, purpose, and peace so that you can learn habits and wisdom to apply to your life. And may this conversation especially support you through these challenging times we are now coming into. There's one quote that I heard the other day from Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who's written amazing books. So check them out if you want to learn more about mindfulness. He speaks of when refugees were leaving Vietnam, I'm assuming during the Vietnam War, and says, when the crowded refugee boats met with storms or pirates, if everyone panicked, all would be lost. But if even one person stayed calm. It was enough. It showed the way for everyone to survive.
Mm.
So we all are in this boat together. And the more we can find calm within ourselves, we can offer that to each other. Um, so, with that, I would love to introduce my guest today. My most wonderful pleasure. Dr. Thoreau is a licensed psychologist and board certified neuropsychologist, working with her husband in private practice since 1995 in Boca Raton. She specializes in the treatment of depression, anxiety, chronic pain, and addictions. She's also a certified MBSR teacher, a trained mindful eating instructor, and a trained mindful self-compassion teacher. She is founder and executive director of the South Florida Center for Mindfulness, Adirondack Mindfulness, and International Seminars Group. Sharon is my beautiful friend and mentor and is a real inspiration to me. We began our mindful journey together in the same MBSR class. We both felt absolutely drawn to teach. And here we are about 10 years later. Hello, Sharon.
Hello, Linny. It's so good to be with you.
Hi. My goodness. So let's just dive right into the big question on everyone's hearts and minds, which is, we're worried about jobs, loved ones, contracting the virus. What can we do with all this worry? What are some mindful tips for navigating uncertainty? What's the best thing for peace of mind right now?
Well, for me, and I can speak for myself, the biggest concern that I have is for my safety and the safety of my friends and my family. I have our office manager, Kristen, has been sick for the past few days, and I have a feeling that she probably has it. She has the symptoms. So it's been pretty stressful for me. So I'm worried about her safety. So what's really helpful for me is my mindfulness practice. So when it comes to living with coronavirus, and we probably will be living with coronavirus for the next 18 months, it's important for us to not be on automatic pilot. And I have this habit of bringing my hands to my face. I'm always like chewing my nails. And I never realized how frequently that happens until now, when we're being told to not put our hands to our face. So mindfulness, and I'm very grateful to my mindfulness practice, my 8 years of practicing formally every day, is helping me to be more on top of safety issues, such as making sure that I remind myself to wash my hands as soon as I get into the house, not putting my hands to my face, or if I do put my hand to my face, bringing it back, washing my hands, and then starting all over again. So mindfulness can really help us to be more safe with ourselves, and if we're safe with ourselves, we're going to be safe with the people that are around us. And as a former nurse in critical care for 10 years, I was a nurse during the AIDS epidemic. And I've been telling people, and now I'm hearing it on the news, is that for us to act as if everybody else has coronavirus, and then act as if you yourself have coronavirus. And what would you do not to spread that to other people? So all those things, hand washing and not bringing your hand to your face, all those little things, and social distancing, all of those things will help us so that this pandemic will not be as bad. We each have an opportunity to make this make this pandemic less. And that's unlike many other things that have happened to us, like catastrophes that happen in our lives. We couldn't do anything about 9/11. Here, this is something we can actually do to help mitigate the effects of this virus. So that's the one thing, is the one worry is safety. And then the other issue that you brought up too is worry and anxiety about what's going to happen in the future. And what do we do with that? And I know it's stressful times right now.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really helps me is, I remember a quote from Samuel Clemens. He was Mark Twain. He said, "My life," and I'm probably paraphrasing this, but "my life is full of catastrophes, most of which have never happened."
Yeah.
And when we remember that, and we remember when we're stuck in worry, actually being able to identify, oh my God, I'm worried right now. And if you can label, oh, what the emotion is, like, oh, worry is here, anxiety is here. And you drop into the body and see where you feel this worry in the body. Where do you feel this anxiety? For me, when I get stressed, I feel it in my jaw. I feel it back in my shoulders. Other people feel it in their gut. But drop into the body and sense where you feel those sensations, and then just be with those sensations. And the good news is that we all know that anxiety, fears, worry, they don't last. So to just be with yourself, and during those times when you're stressed out, and be with yourself with compassion. And you may see I'm putting my hand over my heart. That can actually, just being with yourself and labeling the emotion can actually reduce its impact. And there's been research out there that talks about affect labeling, that once we can identify what the feeling is, fear, worry, it actually can reduce the magnitude of the emotion in our brains by as much as 40%.
Wow.
40%. So, and I think that it has something to do with connecting the right brain, where like with the left brain, like the right brain, sometimes we say, and this is a overly simplistic, but the right brain experiences our emotions, the left brain experiences the logic and our verbal skills. So when we connect the emotion with the word, the affect label, we connect the brain, we can now engage the executive center of the brain, where we can act with more purpose instead of just going off and acting on automatic pilot. So just to be aware that when you're worrying, and drop into the body and give yourself compassion for the fact that you're worried, that will help reduce the magnitude.
Wow. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
But it's the trick to be mindful of when you're worried, instead of getting stuck up in the worry itself.
Right. That is the trick. And ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen, I don't know if you caught it, but I'm going to repeat it. She said she has a daily practice that is carrying her through this. And
Yes.
that's the key to recognizing the worry.
Yes, that's true. And that doesn't mean that, so this is going to help all the people who already have a daily meditation practice. But for those of you who don't have a daily meditation practice, you can start today. There's no time like the present. And even if it's like a 2-minute meditation that you get on an app like Calm or any of these meditation apps, even if it's 2 minutes, it can help. So.
Definitely. And by the way, there are two specifically I know of, or one I know for sure is offering the app for free for the next 6 weeks. So Simple Habit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Simple Habit.
Ah.
And I saw another app, so I'll write the links on the bottom of this video, and you'll be able to access that. But I also know that pretty sure Headspace is doing something too. But if not, their student rate is only $9.99 a month for a whole year. Excuse me. So
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Yep. Oh, an Insight Timer, which is always free.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this brings a huge question to mind, um, which is just how do you remember to practice every day? So, what has been maybe your ritual or your what? How did you decide to commit to doing it every day, and how do you keep that alive?
Mm. Thank you. That's a good question. I think that back in 2011, when you and I took the MBSR course,
Mhm.
um, I didn't really sign up for the course for stress reduction. I took the course because, as a psychologist, I wanted to teach this class called mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, because in the mental health profession, they were saying this is this new evidence-based treatment modality to reduce relapse rate from depression. And
Mhm.
I got the book, and they said, okay, this is, as a therapist, it's an 8-week program. This is what you talk about in week 1, week 2. It was like cookbook. And I thought,
Mhm.
oh, I can easily do this. And but they said, if you want to teach this class, you have to take a class in mindfulness-based stress reduction, because
Mhm.
that's where the MBCT program came from.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay. So I signed up for the class, and you were there. So I didn't take it because I was anxious or depressed, but I'll tell you something. I didn't know how anxious I was
Mhm.
until I started to slow down.
Right.
And then when we started to do the practices, it just felt so good. I was like, okay, I got to learn how to teach this.
Mhm.
So that brought me on the path to become a teacher trainer. So initially, what what led me to a daily meditation practice was that 8-week program,
Mhm.
and making the commitment and feeling good when you're doing it and noticing the effects. So that motivated me. But, life intervenes, and uh, it's been, 8 years now. And sometimes I don't feel like meditating every day, or I wake up and I've got so much to do today. It's just not going to happen. Well, I've tried that, and you know what? I don't feel good
Yeah.
during those days. No matter what happens, whether it's a good day or a stressful day, I learned that it doesn't matter what day it is. As long as I'm grounded, it's going to be a good day.
What?
So it's true. And it's so true. As long as you are grounded and rooted, you can handle whatever life throws at you. So I learned quickly, um, what I do for my routine is I get up in the morning and I'm going to show you. I'm going to, I go to my day planner,
Mhm.
and which is, on the dining room table. And I get up, I have my coffee, and I schedule that day when I'm going to meditate and when I'm going to exercise.
Mm. Yeah.
So I give myself 40 minutes a day to meditate and 40 minutes to exercise. And usually I'll schedule the exercise first,
Mhm.
because I look forward to the meditation more than the exercise. So whatever you have a harder time getting in your schedule, I would do that first.
Mhm.
Uh, and it doesn't have to be 40 minutes. It could, even if it's 10 minutes of stretching and 10 minutes of medication, um, meditation, it doesn't matter. But as long as you set the intention, so that you're going to do it, and when you're going to do it that day, for me, it greatly increases the likelihood of it actually happening.
Totally.
So So yeah, and then I say my mantra is, as long as I meditate, as long as I exercise, something today, doing something today, whether I go running, which now is on the treadmill, or doing yoga our in our condo, or weights, whatever it is, I get that in and I meditate. Then whatever happens, it's going to be okay, because I've taken care of myself.
Amen. Yes.
And I'm no good to anybody else, but you can ask my husband, if I'm not grounded, he's not going to be, I can not be a nice person. I can be reactive. I can be stressed out. So it only helps the people around me when I'm taking care of myself.
Oh my goodness, totally.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'm the same. I have to work out and I have to meditate every day. It has to happen. Both mind and body need to be trained daily.
Yeah.
And I find that if I work out, like to work out before the meditation as well, but to wake up, because if I wake up and go right into meditating, I'll just sleep.
Yeah, that's true. That happens too. That happens to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I was looking over an article in the New York Times by Judson Brewer, who has written a great book you mentioned the other day about addiction. He's got an app. Check him out, look him up. But anyway, he wrote an article about stopping anxiety from going viral. Basically, when our prefrontal cortex goes offline, when we're panicked, it inhibits a lot of our executive functioning and how we can, do well and feel better. So could you tell us a little bit about how mindfulness brings us back online so that we're not lost in the panic and the fight, flight, freeze, etc.?
Sure. So first of all, I think it's helpful to talk about the two types of networks in the brain. There's what we call the default mode network, which is what a lot of us call automatic pilot. Mm-hmm. And according to a study by Killingsworth a few years back, we are operating on automatic pilot about 50% of our waking hours. Mm. So when we're on automatic pilot, that's when we're not really fully present. So imagine like you're talking on the phone, but you're with somebody, but you're also, looking at your email. You're not fully present in what it is that you're doing. And when we are on automatic pilot, there's actually brain imaging studies that shows that certain parts of the brain are activated when you're on automatic pilot. And one of those parts of the brain is actually like right about here. It's the medial prefrontal cortex. So medial being in the middle. Mm-hmm. So it's the medial prefrontal cortex. And when the default mode network structures in the brain are activated, that's when we are most vulnerable to impulsive responding. So putting our hands on our face, like just, or saying things, blurting out things that we're going to regret saying, when we're having a conversation with others, or craving, to give into the cravings. Like you can, when the default mode network is active, we're much more likely to go have a drink, or eat a bag of chips when we're stressed out. So we know about the default mode network, but there's also another network of the brain that is active when we are mindful and when we are purposeful. And that is what they call the executive network. And research has shown in MRIs that when people are practicing moment-to-moment awareness, like in a meditation practice, this medial prefrontal cortex goes offline, and what does go online is the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is involved in mental flexibility, problem solving, planning.
Mm.
So, and research has shown, Judson Brewer did this study in 2011 where he had people uh, do some meditation practices. And when those meditation practices were going on, the medial prefrontal cortex became inactive, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex became activated. And then he said, okay, in between, I just want you to think whatever you want to think.
Mm.
And that's when the medial prefrontal cortex came back online. So if you really want to stay centered and grounded, you need to work on practicing present moment mindfulness.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Wow. Very-
yeah.
Thank you.
One other thing that Judson says in his book, The Craving Mind, and I'm actually an Eat Right Now teacher. I went through their training program he has 3 apps. One is Unwinding Anxiety,
Mhm.
one is Eat Right Now, and one is Craving to Quit. That was his first app for smoking cessation. And in the smoking cessation app, his research has shown, and as well as the craving, the Eat Right Now app, you can reduce cravings by as much as 40%. Again, 40%, that
Wow.
number. Just by bringing yourself into present moment awareness through using his app. So it's amazing. But the one thing I wanted to say from this book, the one thing I got out of that book, The Craving Mind, is when we are selfing.
Yeah.
So when we're having thoughts that are like, oh, that person in front of me in the grocery store has more toilet paper than I do. It's like you're comparing yourself to other people,
Mhm.
or you're saying, oh, I'm not good at this. Or you may even be saying selfing in a positive way,
Mhm.
where you're saying, oh, I'm really good at practicing self-care. That medial prefrontal cortex is being activated whenever it's what we call self-referential thinking.
Mhm.
So whenever we're thinking about ourselves so what we call selfing, we're activating automatic pilot, and remember, that's the time when we're vulnerable to impulsive responding. So just to notice, oh, I'm selfing right now, I'm worried about comparing, or I'm comparing myself to other people. You can acknowledge selfing and you can give yourself compassion. So, okay, I'm comparing myself to other people. This is a moment of suffering. That pops you out from medial to dorsolateral, where you can act with more purpose. It's just crazy. This research is it's just phenomenal. But
Yeah.
like you said in the very beginning, the the trick to mindfulness is not being mindful, it's remembering to be mindful.
Mm.
And that's what a formal meditation practice helps you to be able to do, to be more mindful, to catch yourself being more mindful during the day. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Yes. Oh,
interesting stuff.
so fascinating. Yeah.
It is.
I gotta get that book. Um,
Yeah.
so what do we do with everyone else's anxieties? I know, we can manage our own by having a daily practice, by working out, but I mean, you know what I mean, by our own rituals and routines. But what do we do about family and friends? In the article, he mentions mindfulness is Purell for when someone socially sneezes on our brain. So what do we do when people are sneezing on our brain all day?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think that the answer to that, or one answer to that,
Mhm.
goes right back to mindfulness, and to notice when you're suffering as you're listening to somebody, to catch yourself,
Yeah.
to be aware of that. And when I teach the mindful self-compassion class,
Mhm.
we actually train people to listen with compassion.
Mm.
And one of the little practices that we do that has helped me is when you're sitting with somebody and they're talking about their fears,
Mm-hmm.
there may be the tendency to interrupt them and say, "Oh, it's not that bad," or "You're getting yourself all worked up for nothing," or that's not going to help. That's not going to help them. Sometimes just being able, remember, if we're talking about affect labeling, just letting them vent to you is helping them. So if we could sit with that, and I'm cupping my hands like this because there was a famous psychoanalyst, I can't remember what her name was, but she said, if we can provide this holding environment, like a nest, like a bird in a nest, and you're there with your friend and your friend is talking about their fears, just by allowing them to speak their fears will help them feel better. Even if you say nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but just listen, just the act of listening can help them feel better. But it's hard to listen when, they're talking about their fears. And so what we do one of the practices we teach in mindful self-compassion class is that once you become aware of your getting stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
is that you give yourself compassion and you take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in for you and then breathe out for them. So you say, deep breath in for me because I need a deep breath listening to this. And now I'm going to share my out breath for you to give you this time while I'm listening.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
deep breath in for you, one for me, and a out breath for you. And you can even gauge it. Like if you need more compassion than the other person, you can take a deep breath in and out for you. Hold deep breath in and a breath out for you. And then take a deep breath in for them and out for them. You can gauge it, whatever you want to do based on how stressed out you are. You just may want to breathe for you. And, and if that's what's being called for in that moment, then that's what you do. So just being with yourself with compassion in those moments that you're stressed, listening to their stress.
I love that. Thank you. Wow. That's so helpful. One for me, one for you.
Yeah.
Remember that one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ah, let's see. Well, I guess a lot of people, and I've had a lot of students who do this, and as soon as they start practicing mindfulness and feeling the benefits, they want all their friends to join in, their partners, their neighbors, their cousins. Like, you need to do this because then you'll feel better, and then we'll all get along and like whatever. It's like you want to teach, you want everyone to know it and do it. How do we work with that? Like, maybe people are at home now teaching their kids and being with their families 24/7, and they just want to teach everyone mindfulness. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
about wanting to, I don't know, trying to make other people practice?
Yeah, well, that brings to mind something that happened in my own life, and I learned this lesson the hard way. And that was when, after I took MBSR, and I got so, it's the MBSR is this mindfulness-based stress reduction program. It's an 8-week program that teaches you mindful meditation practices, and the intention is that by the end of the 8 weeks, that you are able to do it on your own for 40 minutes, which thankfully you and I have both been able to do. Not everybody has been able to do that. So when I finished, I told my husband, you should really take this class because it would really help you out a lot. He has chronic pain, and so he was like, yeah, I plan on doing that. Like when I retire, and I have more time, but I'm really busy. So I was like, okay, but you really need to meditate, and you really need to learn how to meditate. Well, one day my husband and I got into an argument, and he said something that he needed to apologize for. And he did. He said something, he regretted it, and he said, I am so sorry, honey. I shouldn't have said that. What can I do to make it up to you? And I said, take an MBSR course. And he said, okay, I'm going to do it. And he signed up and he
Mm.
took a class. He did the home practice every day,
Wow.
40 minutes a day. And at the end of the 8 weeks, he was like, okay, I'm done.
Wow.
I don't need to practice meditation every day.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, oh, I was so disappointed because I had these thoughts of us going on silent retreats, together in Bali or wherever. And that was just not going to happen. And I realized
Mm.
that his motivation was not to improve his life. His motivation was to get
Mm.
out of the doghouse.
Right. It goes back to intention all the
It
time.
goes back to intention. And so, so now I've learned after that, I'm not gonna, I, I try to lead by my example. If
Mm.
people come to me and they say, how can you be so calm in the middle of this stress? Then I'll tell them that, oh, it's my meditation practice has really been helpful. But I I try not to proselytize anymore because it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So and I should have known this as a therapist, because they tell you if people come to therapy because their husband or their wife brought them, they're never going to get anything out of therapy. They're going to need they're going to need to want uh, to be changed, to want to improve their lives. So it just doesn't work that way. And to accept, this
Mm.
is our job, is to accept where people are in their life journey now. And, we can say what um, we will about what we think is best for them. But you know what? Meditation might not be best for them right now.
Mm. Yeah. Wow.
So just accept what's going on, but stay grounded and rooted in your own practice is what I find the best, what works for me.
Yeah. Thank you. So I this one hits home for me because I think of cousins that are nurses. I think of my father who's an ER nurse, and I'm just like, how are they going to manage? So I know you have a nursing background, and you've also dedicated a lot of what you do to serving um, healthcare professionals with mindfulness. So I'm just curious what you have for now, these heroes around the globe, and for everyone who's on the front lines of all this.
Yes, for those of you that are healthcare professionals out there that do not have meditation practice, I guess I can start for those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's really important to practice self-care. And that doesn't mean, we can't even do this anymore. Like, it doesn't mean I'm going to schedule a massage today. No, self-care can be even the littlest things that can make you feel better. And so what you can do is make a list of the things that make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is your favorite song that you would like to hear? If for me, I've got an old Cat Stevens song that I like to listen to, and when I'm feeling bad, just to bring it up on my iPhone and listen to that makes me feel better.
Oh.
uh, taking a hot bath, that helps to calm me down. But maybe reading a book that you enjoy, maybe just playing solitaire, but being mindful of the fact that, okay, I'm going to escape now and I'm going to play solitaire for 5 minutes. But be mindful of the fact that you're practicing self-care. But make a list of the things that bring you joy and that helps you feel better, and try to fit them in during the day. And even if they are just moments where you just put your hand on your heart and say, this is a moment of suffering. May I be safe in this moment. May I treat myself with kindness in
Mhm.
this moment.
Mhm.
Those little things that you can do throughout the day really help. For healthcare providers,
Mhm.
if you're going into a patient room, before you open up the door, before you put your hand on the door to open the door, just stop and take 3 breaths.
Mhm.
Just 3 deep breaths and then go in. Just these little mindful moments of pausing can make a big difference in your day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Self-care. And they say that you can't pour from an empty vessel.
Mhm.
Or you can use the airplane analogy that if you're sitting next to a child and the plane's going down and the oxygen masks come down, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you give that to someone else.
Mm.
And I am not naive enough to believe that if you don't know how to practice self-care, that you're not a good care provider. I know an awful lot of good, excellent care providers that don't know the first inkling on how to take care of themselves.
Mm.
But what I can say is that the quality of your care for others will actually improve the more you can take care of yourself. And the research just shows that over and over and over again. So yeah, it's so important just to practice those little moments of self-care.
Wow, thank you. Oh, everything you say just lands so beautifully. I
Mm.
know I have a few more questions, but I want to be mindful of time.
Yes.
So we are at what, 12:52. Um, so 8 more minutes, or how do you feel? And
Yeah, let's do it.
okay,
8 minutes.
all right.
We
Let me.
can do it.
Which one do I want to ask? So many questions. Um, ah, I think I'll ask this one, which is I just love inspiration, and I love that you transitioned careers, and you clearly have done that in many ways throughout your professional life. And I just, in talking with friends and just reflecting and talking with students, it's become apparent that people are having a lot more time to reflect, to remember what's really important. Um, and to be honest, when we think about death, one of the things we ask is this how I want to end? Is this how I want to, is this the last thing I want to do? Or, the idea, I think it's Steve Jobs who said, I'm not going to quote it correctly, but basically something along the lines of death being, and Buddhism too, but that death is our greatest teacher.
Hmm.
And so I think this time will obviously teach us many things, but I think for many people, it might be a time where they consider career change, or
Yes.
a new trajectory professionally. So what are your thoughts about that?
Hmm. Good question. Yeah, and it's interesting. You are so right. My husband and I,
Mhm.
quarantining, we're part of the elderly population here, but in our 60s. So we have lots of time to reflect, and we're actually spending time
Mm.
figuring out what do we want to do with the rest of our lives. And to me, what has guided me back when I have made tough decisions.
Mm.
Uh, I I left nursing to go to graduate school to become a psychologist, and then I left the field of neuropsychology to give me more time to become a mindfulness
Mm.
meditation teacher. Um, and I think that the one the one piece of advice that I go to all the time that has worked for me is a saying by Joseph Campbell,
Mm.
who was a writer early in the 1900s, and he said, or the middle 1900s, and he said, it's follow your bliss. And I'll read this, what he says. He says, follow your bliss. If you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while, waiting for you.
Mm.
And the life you ought to be living is the one you are living. Follow your bliss and don't be afraid. And doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. And that is exactly what has happened to me. Once I set my path and set my course, and I know that I'm doing this because this is what I really want to do, which I'm being led to do, doors just naturally open. But you've got to believe in yourself in order for that to happen. So my advice to you, for those people who are reflecting, is follow your bliss. What makes you happy?
Mm.
And then go towards that.
Yeah. Wow, thanks. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure, we have more free time at home now, so we can start doing a little bit more towards that path.
Yes.
Wow, awesome. Well, I know you're doing a drop-in to support the South Florida community at this time. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We are doing the virtual mindful drop-ins through Zoom, and they will be on Thursday evenings from 6 to 7 and on Tuesday afternoons from 12 to 1. And to get the Zoom meeting, probably the best place to find the number for the Zoom meeting would be to go to my Facebook page, which would, for the South Florida Center for Mindfulness, which is, facebook.com/S as in Sam, F as in Frank, South Florida, sfmindfulness.com.
Mm.
And scroll down and you'll get all the information for the Zoom meeting details. And just log in on Thursdays at 6 or Tuesdays at 12.
That is so great and so needed. Go. I guarantee you will feel a lot better. Tell us what you have going on and how we can stay in touch with you.
Well, I have a website, mindfulsouthflorida.com, which has a list of our upcoming classes, but it also has resources. I have a few meditation practices that are short and sweet, like a 10-minute body scan, a breathing space, a 3-minute breathing space meditation, which I find very helpful in times like this. Sitting awareness of breathing meditations. So that's mindfulsouthflorida.com. I also, for healthcare employees, professionals such as nurses, all the mental health professionals such as social workers, marital family therapists, mental health counselors, and psychologists. I offer continuing education credits for participation in the mindfulness-based stress reduction program and the mindful self-compassion classes. And you can find that information on internationalseminarsgroup.com. And then I also am teaching in 2 weeks. We just changed this to an online class. I will be teaching Your Brain on Mindfulness. And yeah, it will explain in more detail what happens during meditation practices such as the body scan. And we will practice a body scan meditation. We will talk about the struggles that we had during the body scan meditation. And then I'll talk about the research that supports the use of the body scan meditation. And then we will do a mindful eating practice and under the same format. And then we will do a sitting meditation. So once again, we experience it, we talk about the struggles, and then I talk about the research that shows that these are evidence-based modalities to help reduce stress, anxiety, cravings. So yes, and that also can be found at internationalseminarsgroup.com.
Awesome. And all of these links will be below. The Facebook, South Florida Center for Mindfulness, International Seminars Group, Adirondack Mindfulness. Anything else you want to let us know going forward?
No, just be safe, and stay connected. If not with us, stay connected virtually. That's going to be very helpful during these times.
Right. And so we're going to wrap things up here, but if you're, well, I mean, most people should be at home, so you really have no excuse for not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are driving, don't do this. But otherwise, if you have a few moments, I invite you to practice a mindful self-compassion break with us, which is, I find, so healing. I just was listening to Jack Kornfield, a great meditation teacher, yesterday, and he talked about how worrying is human, to not criticize ourselves for worrying, to just hold it with a loving awareness. And I think that the self-compassion break really helps us to be able to do that for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's begin by just closing our eyes, either partially or fully, dropping into the body, sitting here, breathing. And to practice this self-compassion break, let's begin by bringing to mind a situation in your life that is difficult or causing you some stress right now. Maybe it's this virus. Maybe it's a health problem or a relationship problem, a work problem. Maybe there's a friend of yours that's struggling. But choose a problem for this practice that's in the mild to moderate range, not a big problem. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves as we're first learning to practice this self-compassion break. Just find that situation, make it specific. Try to see this situation very clearly in your mind's eye. Allow yourself to see, hear, feel your way into this problem. To the extent that you may experience some uneasiness in your body. Where are you feeling it the most? Is it in your gut, your jaw, your chest? Once you've located that part of the body that senses this distress, say to yourself slowly and kindly, this is a moment of suffering. This is mindfulness. You may also say, oh, this hurts, or ouch, or this is stressful. Just being mindful of the suffering. And now saying to yourself, suffering is a part of living. That's our common humanity. Acknowledging our humanity, you may also want to say, I am not alone. There are others out there just like me right now. Or we all struggle in our lives. Or you may want to say, this is how it feels when a person struggles this way. And now, if you'd like to, putting your hand over your heart or wherever it feels soothing, and feeling the warmth and the gentle touch of your hands. And perhaps saying to yourself, may I be kind to myself. This is the self-kindness component of self-compassion. Not only recognizing the suffering, but doing something to help you feel better. You may also want to say to yourself, may I give myself what I need right now. Or you may want to say, may I accept myself as I am right now. Or may I live in love. But some statement of self-compassion that works for you, that resonates with you. May I be enough. May I be peaceful. And if you're having difficulty finding the right words, just imagine that a dear friend or a loved one is having the same problem as you. What would you say to this person, heart to heart? If your friend were to hold just a few of your words in their mind, what would you like them to be? What message would you like to deliver? Now, can you offer the same message to yourself? And then when you're ready, taking a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, slowly opening your eyes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lenny. Thank you for this opportunity. And I just have to say, you are such a light to the world. And I am just so happy and honored to have you as my friend.
Oh my goodness. Same. Right back to you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Big hug. Big hug.
Virtual hug.
Right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, and be well. Take care.
Bye.